This week's episode is brought to you by our very proud sponsor, Slabbed Cards, who specialise in card grading with PSA and SGC. Slabbed Cards are authorised PSA dealers, and card grading starts from $54.95 and includes full insurance, secure storage. Slabbed Cards have 2 tons of backgrade safes, 24-hour surveillance, and are located in a guarded, monitored building. All cards are scanned on arrival and are available to you for viewing at any time, and Slab Cards provide automatic progress notifications. Your submissions also come with complete tracking and notifications from start to finish. Slab Cards also offer specialized shipping services, domestic shipping service with up to $10,000 insurance per parcel, domestic secure hand-to-hand shipping service delivery within 24 hours of pickup, and international shipping with up to $150,000 of insurance per parcel. Contact Slab Cards for a quote at slabd.com.au. That's slabd.com.au. And also find them at 60 Weymount Street in Adelaide. Thanks very much for supporting us, Slab Cards.
Welcome everybody to episode 24 of the You Can't Comp This NBA Trading Podcast. I'm your co-host, Adam Amy, and joined as always by Russell Gibson. We've got a lot on the show today, Russell.
We are loaded. We are ready to go. We're playoff loaded, I should say.
I was going to say, we had a bit of a break over Easter. We had our on last week, and then we sort of had our Easter break.
Which we pre-recorded. And actually, I'm not too sure about you, but I was lapping up the break, mate. It was lovely.
It was weird. Sort of got to Easter Sunday, and it was like, the pod's
something missing out of my life, yeah.
The pod's dropped. Wait, we recorded that already. All right, let's go and enjoy some chocolate. So
we're back together though, Ad.
Yes, we are back. The playoffs are in full swing. We have got a jam-packed show today.
Yeah.
Playoffs galore to talk about. There's some new releases and we've even got some, I wouldn't call it like a mailbag discussion, but a group discussion.
Yeah, we've got a little bit of mail to go through, and I think we should kick off with that. Actually,
let's start off with the feedback or some discussions that we've had on the Facebook group.
Yeah, so we had a Facebook post from Andrew Dean, and it was, "Sorry guys, I'm a regular listener, and I'm all about educating my ignorance, but this was boring as bat." You can fill in the blanks after that, and I think it's great that people are listening and even taking the time to feed back to us. But I think the flip side of that comment was one that we received yesterday from James Parsons. So just listen to the latest podcast, and as an advocate for the integration of Web 3.0 into the collector space, I enjoyed the show. While I've been around the NFT space for a while, hearing I think you're supposed to say good ideas about how they could be used to bring fans an experience greater than opening a pack is something that should really be considered. Your guest, Al, made it abundantly clear that most NFT projects rings little to no use case will fail or be rug pulled, but with fanatics at the helm of the trading card hobby, I can see a huge upside in getting old school collectors and technology cynics on to look a little deeper, maybe an update on NFTs in the next 6 to 12 months. Yep. So what are your thoughts about those two messages, mate?
Well, the review in 6 to 12 months is probably the next time we're going to speak about Gary V's trading cards and see if they're worth $2 each or if they're worth 20 grand each. That episode, I guess, wasn't for everybody.
Yeah.
And sure, there are going to be some people that sort of sat and listened to the whole thing and went, oh, wow, there's a lot of stuff I didn't know. And there's a lot of people that I'm sure will share the opinion that 10 minutes in went, this is not for me. I don't want to listen anymore.
Yeah.
And look, we appreciate every listener and every episode isn't going to be the same. We're going to try a few different things, but I think it's interesting. I think we got both sides of the coin here. And
that's the thought that really came to my head, because I think this topic is really going to capture the whole spectrum of dudes who are just not interested in this at all.
Yeah.
And guys who are kind of like, I'm interested in this, and I'm kind of interested to see where this goes in 12 months. And I probably fit somewhere in between the two, to be perfectly honest. I'm not interested at all, but I'm also interested to see, where does this end up in 12 months? So that's probably...
What does it look like? What's the space going to be?
We did another post too, again on Facebook, about in sets there's always 1 or 2 cards that are, really nice cards that are worth chasing, even if it's elite or even if it's... Do you know what's so funny? The word that was stuck in my head was reflux. But the set that I was trying to think of is flux. Flux. Is the card? Oh, that's actually almost ironic.
Who
Some would
names a
say
set reflux?
that's right. Some would say this set is giving me reflux.
Oh boy, yeah.
So look, the card that I brought up was the orange parallel out of
Was it
Elite
Mosaic?
from this year.
Elite.
And look, the card that I posted is literally a $3 card, but I think they're spectacular $3 cards. So look, we had some really good answers from this, and I think we should just really quickly burn through these.
Yeah, for sure.
Andrew Hewitt gave us a really nice one. It's a stained glass from the Innovation set, and this beautiful Steph Curry there. That he's right. That's an absolutely beautiful card, and that's really stood the test of time. The Future Legends from Recon is another one that is absolutely a collectible card. My only thought about these is that I actually think the base is more collectible than even the short prints because I've got a couple of reds and they just seem very full and there's sort of a little bit too much happening there and the base just look absolutely beautiful. Yeah, Nathan Lee contributed too. He did a Skybox card, DT2 cards, which looks like, I think the best way to explain these is almost a portrait card from the Dream Team set. So that set's actually got a lot in it. So Alonzo Mourning, Larry Johnson, Kemp, Mark Price, Steve Smith. I've been thinking a lot because I wouldn't mind to get a card out of these. I'm actually going to go for the Kevin Johnson. That dude really struck a chord with me back in the day. Him or Tim Hardaway is probably like the two guys I'm going to target. Yeah, I think probably the obvious one is Shaq. He's probably the biggest name out of all those guys. I know Al would get Larry Johnson, that's for sure.
This is true. This is true.
Martin Holmes named a couple for us too. He showed us a soccer card on the red mosaic. That's a really nice one. Thanks, Martin, for that. And then the last one he named too is the Dragon from Donruss Optic, which I believe actually is the Choice Dragon card. A segment on in the future, what's an SSP and what's an SP. I think this is an SSP, and it's kind of one of those cards that's really flown under the rainbow. It never really got any, collectible sort of, traction in that sense. And I think if you are looking for SSPs and you're looking to get something that does look a little bit different and is probably on the undervalued side, I'll definitely check those out. I think that's, you can find a bit of value there. And in terms of mailbag, that's it for us this week, Ed.
Is that it?
Yeah.
I mean, look, haven't got an email.
I know what you're saying by, is that it?
We've had viewers in the chat. We've had people on the Facebook group.
Look,
have I spelt the name on the email wrong?
I think email's just a lot of effort, Ed.
I just think everyone's scared to come on the show.
Look, I think
they don't want their own episode.
We're measuring metrics, the amount of messages we just received in the last week is about 1,000x up. Okay, so
probably true. Probably true.
This is the glass half full that I'm going for, Ed.
Yeah, look, it was. You're right. The amount of interaction, engagement's been amazing.
Yeah.
It's good to hear from different people, different parts of the audience, and to know that we've got lots of different people downloading episodes and giving us a listen. So. Yes. Send us an email.
Alrighty, so releases in the last couple of weeks, there's been two really nice ones. Prizm Draft came out, which is it's a college set, but it's the first look at Prizm for the year.
It's got that name on it, Prizm.
Yeah, and traditionally it comes out before the season starts or at the very, very beginning of the season. So this year's releases are completely, upside down and back to front. The reason I like Prizm Draft is because it gives you the first look at rookies and prospects, because if you're someone like me who doesn't follow college pretty well at all, I might know the top one name or the top two big names that are coming out of college, and after that's it. So I sort of use that to give myself a crash course of, getting to know who these players are, what school they went to, and, I like to read the stats on the back and all that type of stuff. So I really enjoy that aspect.
Yeah.
The other thing too I really like about it is in my opinion, they take a lot of risks with the different types of parallels. I feel as though they experiment on this set and they seem to sort of get introduced into the pro sets at some time in the next sort of, 1 to 2 years afterwards. And maybe it'll be in Select, maybe it'll be in, Prizm. You're not really too sure, but I feel like they are a bit more sort of experimental. So I like that. I like that sort of different parallels. And then again, for me, because I like to collect, entire sets, and collecting them in parallel sort of being the thing that I've been leaning towards a lot more in terms of, cost and spend for a full set. You can do this set. It's a lot cheaper than, normal Prizm. So I think the only thing to be aware of is you might be seeing some really high comps at the moment for autographs and the sort of the short printed case hits and that. But the word of warning here is that the price on this generally will drop very fast once Prizm comes out. So don't think that's going to keep escalating up and up and up. Have in the back of your mind it is going to drop at some point. In saying that, the price last year I felt was not so much up and down. It was more sort of, it was up, but the drop down wasn't as much, particularly on the LaMelo Ball stuff. That was being very, very
that's
strong.
true.
Yeah, and the only caveat to this caveat is that he was signing on card, like the stickers were actually, the autographs were in the product. They weren't redemptions. So I think the resale on that was really strong. So last year, the downtown cards were in the blasters. So that was a really good pull for people if you're getting blasters, and they're also in the cellos. And now this year, they've introduced Color Blast into it too. So it depends which way you look at it. You might say, look, I don't want Color Blast in every single set, but it's in WNBA, it's in wrestling, it's in Spectra, it's now in Prizm Draft. I like that. I think it's really good to have cool cards at a cheap price, and it gives someone else, something, some different cards to look at, particularly if Prizm does get out of your reach.
Yeah, certainly.
Which it does for a lot of people, and, let's be honest.
Look at the way the market goes now.
Yeah. So I think, a lot of people sort of turn their nose up at this, but I really, really enjoy this product. I actually get a lot out of it.
Yeah.
I've spoken a lot. Ad, did you have any thoughts on Prizm Draft?
Look, Prizm Draft, it gives us his first taste of Prizm. As you said, there is a lot of hype. Every year with the rookie class, people are keen to get their hands on Prizm rookies. And while they aren't the actual Prizm rookie card.
No, and they're not in pro uniforms. That's the kicker.
That's the kicker there.
Yep.
I mean, they're still early printings of these rookies. So
definitely
down the track, like they're not worth getting, if that makes sense. So there is some value to getting the cards.
Yeah.
But just be ready for that price drop.
Yeah. Definitely.
So don't go and pay overs. But yeah, those underrated rookies that you do want to invest in that may not have blossomed in the regular season, maybe they're worth giving a crack still. So
the next product is Contenders. So that dropped. I think we're about nearly at the end of week 2 of this product being released now, and the resale on this has been very, very strong.
There's some pretty cards in this.
Yeah, so that's the thing about Contenders. Look, it's very, very base heavy. So if you go into breaks, the strong probability is you're going to come back with, a large handful of base cards. But if you do happen to hit one of the autos out of it, they are absolutely delicious. The other thing to sort of keep in mind out of Contenders too, they also have cards, which I think the best way to describe them is Contenders Optics cards, where they're essentially like the optic finish. And they are generally on-card autos, and they are absolutely spectacular. And
they look very sweet.
Yeah, they're absolutely, very collectible cards. The thing about this is generally, it should sort of RRP for that sort of 300 to 400 mark. It's already up to nearly 850, 900. So it is like running red hot at the moment. So, the play might be that, it sort of releases and then the price will spike up a bit, and then you should sort of see some cooling down on that. And that happened with Don Russ this year, that the price on that has almost halved, you could say, if not, come down by sort of 40%. So probably you would expect to see the same thing. The other thing probably to note about this product too, we've actually hit some big cards out of it already. So the 1 of 1 has come out for Giddy already, and there's been some really nice short printed stuff that's come out for Edwards and Ja Morant. So I think as that sort of keeps on happening,
the value drops a little bit, but I mean, there's still some quality stuff in there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I suppose what I'm trying to say there is that what you might find in a few more weeks, you might just find a little bit more value out of it, as opposed to right now.
Yeah.
And in terms of the aesthetics of the cards, I think they've done a really good job this year. They've still kept that Contenders look, but they've just tweaked it a bit.
All right. Well, Contenders, I've never been the biggest fan. And I guess I don't know, it's just, it's probably that base heavy aspect.
Yeah.
But you're right. There's some of the nicer cards in there are absolutely spectacular, to say the least. Yeah,
definitely. And look, I'm not going to collect a set of this in terms of, the base set. I think if I'm looking for that type of card and, going to do a chase, I would probably do hoops, to be honest, because I think that the hoops checklist is a lot more comprehensive, and then you'll get sort of, a broader look at, who's in the league at this sort of, present time. But in terms of collecting singles and, particular chase cards, I think Contenders is the play-in Contenders is sort of picking up those, very specific cards, like the license cards are really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's some pretty cool ones. Any other releases? I believe something that a set that I've historically enjoyed is due out, or it came out this week.
Yeah, so Revo's coming out next week, and look, this is like the NFT of cards, really. Some people absolutely hate this collection.
It's Revolution to me is one of those so there are two types of people in the world, and the funny part about this is I'm normally on the other side of the fence.
Yep.
There are people that like glitter.
Yep.
And there are those that despise glitter.
Yeah, yeah. So the word that was in my head was glitter, yeah.
I'm a despiser of glitter in general. Like, if I'm exposed to glitter, there'll be glitter on my clothes there'll be just one little tiny sparkle. 3 months later, and I'll remember the exact time. Anyway, before I ran about glitter. And then there are people that love it.
Yeah.
Now, Revolution
is glittery.
It's the glitteriest set. Like, they're like, people like shiny cards. So what did Revolution do? Everything is shiny.
Yeah. It is glittery.
It's glittery. Glittery is probably the right word for it. And I think it's an amazing set. I think it looks great.
Yeah.
It really pops, and some of the different, I suppose, variations, they're really nice. Popping, I guess. It's glitter. It shines. It sparkles.
So, yeah, Revo is extremely shiny, and if you look at just the base cards, you think it's just a whole lot of shine. If you are not someone who's into Revo, what I would say to you is look at the cubics. Start with the cubics, have a look at the cubics. They are absolutely spectacular cards. And then start to work your way through the different parallels after that. I feel as though if you can't find two of the different parallels that you enjoy, I will be very, very surprised, if not shocked.
Yeah.
The other thing, too, that you need to keep in mind about Revo is they don't do the standard rookie checklist that you'll find in Prizm and that you'll find in Donruss. So what I mean by that is Shake Milton never had a Prizm or a Donruss rookie card, but he did have a Revo card. So you can kind of find some like diamonds in the rough around the edges there. So if someone who is kind of like a non-standard rookie who comes into league but pops, a year later or 2 years later, keep those parallel rookie cards from Revo that you just never know, because like Shake Milton, and they're still selling for in that $100 mark, because if you want a Shake Milton rookie card, you have to buy a Revo. So there's definitely like, a play in, in that way to be taken.
Yeah. There's well, that's the thing. Like, obviously there's the flagship products where people want to get the rookie cards from.
Yep.
But then
and you should be getting those, by the way, too. Like, that is where Prizm is where you should always be going. That's just how the world works, and you have to accept it.
But when they don't print them in Prizm, and you're like, oh, there's a limit to which sets they were printed in.
Yeah.
Revolution's a really good set.
Yeah, and who knows why they do that? I think they just do it because they can. And
who doesn't like shiny rookie cards?
Yeah,
exactly. Glittery rookie cards. How's that?
Yeah.
Excited for that release. Might have to put a couple of bucks into some breaks, I think, to get some Revolution.
Yeah, look, and I think for me too, Revo was like the first break that I went into, and I feel as though I'll never sort of forget my my Revo experience, because I had no idea what the hell was happening. I was kind of sitting there watching this break, and then these cards came to me in the mail, and I was like, oh, this is great. So, that's sort of my memory of like Revo and that space.
Yeah.
I got more Mo Bamba rookies than I knew what to do with out of that break.
Oh boy! But look, they're just shiny cards. Like, and as someone that used to sort of help with, like, go to a lot of the younger basketball, the kids, the grassroots ones, the think of the children crowd, as some of it call it. We'd go down a local basketball stadium, and the elation on a child's face.
Yeah.
When they got a Steph Curry base card that was shinier than half the inserts that you got.
Yeah. Shiny with a silver Prizm, exactly. Yeah.
Correct. So I think it's a really good product, and it's got its It's definitely got some value there
Yeah.
for all, we'll say, all areas of the hobby. I don't know what are they on card autos still? Because I remember they used to be.
Yeah,
I
so
haven't seen
that's
Revo for a while.
not the catch. The thing with Revo is that you don't get an autograph in every box. So in a case, you might get 4 autographs per case. So, there's 2 ways to look at it. Some people at the moment are sort of, the comment is that we're currently in the junk auto era. And so if you look at Revo from that perspective, you will say, well, actually,
I love it.
Yeah.
The junk auto era.
Yeah. So if you're getting an autograph in every single blaster box and every single, hobby box, or 2, what used to be the case in hoops, what's the value on these? So I suppose you can look at it like that actually Revo's got the, the ratio right. The problem is if you're breaking it and you're doing a box and you're essentially not getting a hit, that is not awesome. So maybe the play there is you should be doing a case of Revo and not single boxes. And so,
yeah, I like it. And that's all for our pack or our releases.
I think that's more than enough. I think we should kick off to the main meal. I say
the main meal is a big serving. Playoff action.
Yeah. So what we have been discussing off air is we want to go through each series, and then we're going to pick a player from each team. And in some series, we'll do a player versus player, and then in other series, we'll just we'll do a bit of a commentary around that. So, and that way, every playoff team gets a little bit of love. And I didn't mention this to you, but it's because I forgot. But I just wanted to do a very honorable mention because the Cavs didn't make the playoffs. But it feels to me, if we didn't mention the Cavs tonight, I think we're doing them a disservice because I think they had an absolutely fairy tale season. Yeah. I think they exceeded expectations by 10x. Garland has really cemented himself in a place which I think he's going to be very strong over the next couple of years. I think Mobley is going to be fantastic, and Jared Allen has just made himself into this guy's essentially, irreplaceable because in the back of my mind, I was kind of assuming Mobley was just going to, move him out and they were going to play, maybe a little bit smaller, but he actually did the complete opposite.
Look, Cleveland were a real surprise packet this year. And funnily enough, talking about teams that didn't make the playoffs, I may have talked the Clippers up just a little bit too much on another podcast. So,
I think that's okay, man. They're well coached. Actually, they had a good roster.
I needed to jinx them somehow. So yes, I did say that the Clippers were going to go all the way, and I think I may have jinxed another team in the process. I
think betting on Kawhi Leonard's health is risky, man.
It was Paul George. He went to COVID protocols for that playing game, and they were gone. What do you do? What do you do?
Yeah, look, I think it's a bit more than just Kawhi and Paul George. To be honest, I think.
Yeah, look, there's got to be you've got to look at it as a holistic thing, and Kawhi not doing things. And anyway, they're not in the playoffs. We're in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Speaking of other predictions and things that we got right or didn't get right, a recent guest of ours, Brian Forsman.
Yeah.
May have said something about a certain player being overrated.
Yep.
And just for anyone that sort of hadn't watched Game 3 of the Boston versus Brooklyn series, Kevin Durant took one shot in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
That's not playing big game basketball. So just going to put it out there that maybe Brian had a point. And Tatum and Jaylen Brown absolutely killing it with Defensive Player of the Year Marcus Smart. So I don't like wrapping the Celtics up too much, but Brian was definitely right, in my eyes anyway, about this. Maybe KD is a bit overrated in the in the scheme of things. Yeah, maybe Kyrie didn't belong in the 75. Anyway,
so my take on this is actually such a great thought exercise for me at the moment because I'd already sort of told you guys I'd really been pondering in my head about where does Durant fit in the collecting space and is he underrated? Is he overrated? And I was really struggling with that. And I think this series has really given me a lot of clarity. And albeit after today's game, the narrative has changed a lot in my mind. And it's only one game, which is ironic. So maybe if Durant had got 50 today and the Brooklyn Nets had won, I'd still be in that sort of like limbo space of not really feeling, not knowing where to feel. So now I feel like it's very obvious. So Tatum has really cemented his place in his basketball future. I feel like I can see
Well,
this guy's sort of
he's
next.
taken that step, hasn't he?
Exactly right. That's exactly right. And what I was talking about a couple of weeks ago, I was like, I'm not really too sure if I want to be paying future prices for Tatum now when I haven't seen that, step happen. And like we literally saw it today. Like we saw the
Yeah, we did,
Celtics
yeah.
shut down Durant, and then we saw the Celtics run back the other way and just keep making play after play after play. And, even if Tatum wasn't the direct assist maker or he wasn't the direct shot maker, he was in there and he was making all the right plays. And you could say that about the buzzer beater too. He was
Yeah.
just in the right spot. So
Yeah.
flipping that back to card values of over the last 3 months, he's up 29.7% on those
Well,
prices that we're already umming and ahhing about.
I was going to say you were umming and ahhing and saying, "Oh, look, I'm
Yeah.
not paying future prices." Well,
Yeah.
a month ago,
Yeah.
you were paying almost 1,100 US for a silver Prizm
Yeah.
PSA 10. You're now looking at, as of today, 1,475 USD.
Yeah.
So it's almost a 35% increase in the last month.
And look, I don't mind being, quote unquote wrong in this space. I think I was just really struggling with where all that was going. And I think that's what I enjoyed so much about today.
Yeah.
I didn't want to see Brooklyn lose. Don't get me wrong. I wanted to see like a closer series, but it really did give me a lot of clarity, sort of towards that. And then, where does that leave Kevin Durant? I suppose that's the next, sort of thing. So his prices are down 31% over the last 3 months on his PSA 10 white border. So
let's have a look. Kevin.
That's really interesting too. So it's almost like people have literally taken their money out of KD and, chucked it into Tatum. So
which one are we looking at? We're looking at the tops white border, are we?
Yeah, the PSA 10 is what's down 32% really. Yeah.
Down nearly 32%. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's maybe that's where it needs to be. Maybe that's KD is not showing a lot. Has not been showing a lot this series, and look, I'll make the joke. I don't think Ben Simmons is going to turn this series around coming back on in a couple of days. But
yeah, geez, he's throwing himself into the fire if he does play in Game 4.
Well, he wasn't trying to hide about it. He was wearing orange on the sidelines today. So, but
I don't know who's dressing that guy, but he needs a new stylist, I think.
Oh, look, it might be Kyrie just to take a bit of the focus off him. It's look, Brooklyn are in a lot of trouble, and I'm sorry, but when you're the highest paid players on the team, that's where the blame needs to be focused.
Yeah,
you guys need to go out and perform. This is a must-win game, and Kevin Durant did not do everything it took to win that game.
Yeah,
he took a back seat, and I think his recent prices reflect this. It's.
Look, in terms of legacy, it really does make me wonder too about Durant, in that my thought about him being in Golden State, that Steph Curry was still the leader of that team. Like Durant might have been the best player, but
was he though?
I think he was. I really think he hit a lot of big shots for them, and defensively he really did a lot for that team. And I don't think they would have won the chips when he was in Golden State if Durant wasn't there. And I'm not saying this. I'm not trying to troll people.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I think what I'm trying to say here, though, is that I think he went there to, go to school, like to go to basketball school to learn from the best.
Okay.
And then he wanted to start his own team, and he recruited his boys. He got Kyrie and he got Harden. I think that's awesome. But maybe what we're now seeing play out is that he's actually not ready to be the number one.
Well,
leading a team is actually far more difficult than Steph Curry makes it out to be. And, I've said this publicly, and I feel like maybe not on this podcast, but in chat rooms I've been in, I've actually said that I think Steph Curry is one of the best leaders, in professional sports. Because
I think Curry is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I also think that Golden State team with KD, the defensive schemes against that group are very different when you've got the Splash Brothers, Draymond, and KD.
Yeah, and you've got Bruce Brown on the Brooklyn Nets. Yeah, 100%. It's
you know what I mean? Like the defensive schemes to shut down KD.
Yeah.
Like when the pressure's on and he needs to step up, he's getting crushed.
Yeah.
That's the reality is he's not ready for that level of pressure. LeBron's been ready for it. Kobe was ready for it. Like there are these high performing elite athletes.
Yeah.
And now we've seen today Tatum's ready for it.
Yeah.
KD was not ready.
Yeah. So I suppose what I'm trying to say here, I'm trying to speak about leadership and building up teams, to win a chip. That's the point I'm trying to make. I think what you're trying to say here is, which I also do agree with, maybe if we're, putting people into tiers, what this series has actually showed us is probably KD is that one tier down that
He's a
what
tier
I,
one player, not this tier S, tier elite, tier player.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe as a tier 2 or tier 3 player. If Steph Curry's tier 1, well then,
Yep.
KD is 2 or 3. So, and
KD is a
maybe
star, not a superstar.
yeah,
How's
and
that?
maybe that's what I've been really trying to grapple with in my mind the last couple of weeks. Where
Mm.
does KD sit? So yeah, that was really cool. All
Look,
right, I think
Curry's
we should.
definitely a superstar. Anyway,
Yeah,
this
let's
is
move
gonna,
on.
this is going to be a long episode, isn't it?
So the next series is Philadelphia versus Toronto, and the two
Yep.
players we chose was Maxey and Barnes. What are your thoughts about Tyrese Maxey and?
I will put my hand up and say I saw the Tyrese Maxey game last playoffs.
Okay.
That man he's just gone from strength to strength.
Yeah.
And look, there's been a lot of discussion about how well Philly were going to fare in this series against Toronto.
Yeah.
I have no fear at all. I think Philly are ready to play some ball. Maybe
Yeah.
they did drop game 4 and they didn't get a full sweep, but they've already taken a game in Toronto and they just need to win one at home now. So
Yeah.
I think Maxey is a big part of that.
Yeah,
A
definitely.
huge part of that. Let's have a look at the price.
Yeah,
impact.
so Maxey is super difficult. So why don't we just do his raw silver? Because there's not.
Yeah, I was going to say there's not much
Yeah, there's not
graded stuff.
Well, that's the thing, right? He's right in the middle of the PSA shutdown. So my take on Maxey is that So we talked about Maxey earlier in the season, and we were talking about him in terms of prospecting. So I think Maxey has now stepped above that prospect level, and he's become, let's call him a player. So in my mind, this is where I sit with Maxey now. Is Maxey going to be a player, and this is what his current value is, that's where he is? Or is there still value to be had in Maxey, and he's still got the ability to go on to the next level? And I really think this is where the conversation needs to be had, because if you watch the Philadelphia 76ers play now, and again, I'm not saying this to troll people, I genuinely can make the argument that he's the second best player in that team, and I'm totally fine if you argue against me or you agree with me on this one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you can say Harden's easily the second best player on the team, and that's fine. Like I really don't, I won't take issue with that. But if you say to me the way that he moves down the floor quickly, he progresses the ball down the floor, he will make plays for other people, he'll shoot the ball on the catch and shoot, well enough to keep the offense, like defenses, honest. And the way he's actually creating and getting into the lane, how many people in the league are actually playing it, at that level? There's not 20 guys ahead of him that are doing this. So,
all right. Well, all right. So price wise, I think you make a very valid point here, right? So over the last 3 months, like we were talking about him around about the time that his cards were on the rise, and they'd gone from that, I don't know, 3 months ago, $27 to they'd hit like the $40 mark.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if you want to get a silver Prizm, this is just raw.
Yeah.
You're looking at $83. They've literally doubled in price.
Yeah.
Now, we're only looking at raw.
Yeah.
Because people haven't got them graded.
Yeah.
If he is now the second best player on the Philadelphia 76ers, arguably, whatever we want to say, top 3. We'll say he's top 3.
Yeah, let's just say that so we're not trolling people. Because
exactly. We're not pumping his tires up too much.
Yeah.
He is a key piece of that Philly lineup, right?
Yeah.
Clearly in the top 3, maybe 4. People can argue, I'm sure, but he's moving up to that star level, right?
That's what I'm proposing.
It's not going to be long before this man has graded PSA 10 cards, and they are not going to be worth $83. That is that simple. If people are getting this stuff graded, if he's on the trajectory we think he's on, PSA 10s are coming back soon.
So are you saying that?
I'm saying buying these raw at this price might be good, but if you've got one that you think is worth grading, might be worth putting a couple of bucks into it.
Sure. So would you wait for the PSA grading prices to come down a bit, or are you saying
maybe a little bit?
Buy now and then send it off?
I still think and this is the way. This is just me prospecting.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think
I'm just trying to flesh out like what your ideas here are.
Playoff performance wise is going to dictate his post playoff price. I think he slumps to around the $50 mark post season, and that's when you buy.
Okay,
that's just my opinion. If Philly go from the second round and don't get eliminated in the second round and say make the Eastern Conference Finals,
yeah,
and he is a solid performer, then you might not ever get that $50 price point.
yeah.
But I'm saying if Philly get bounced next round, then it might go off the boil, if that makes sense.
Yep.
At which point that's a perfect time to buy, because next season he's going to be hungry, Philly are going to be hungry, and you don't know where the ceiling is.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying you're going to get millions upon millions of dollars, but I can definitely see an upward trend especially with the graded cards coming back.
Yep.
Like we won't just be looking at raw Maxey cards.
Yeah. So my recommendation from here is this. I think that at the moment his cards actually is quite volatile. So what you said is 100% correct. The last sold was 83.
Yeah.
But if you look through the plotting on the graph, I think
you can see that dip down to like 40.
Yeah, if you got lucky, I think you could probably pick one up for 60. So if you're putting bids in for 60 and you're putting bids on every single silver Prizm that's out there, I think you'll pick up one in the next couple of weeks. And I think if you're paying 60 for it, that's fine.
I also think the raw ones will be worth closer to 100 if the trajectory is correct. So
yeah,
50 to 60 is a good call.
I think my problem with paying more than 60 at the moment is, I think for a player of this stature, I think that's kind of top end. So if you're paying above that, I think what that says to me is that you're expecting him to be an all-star next season. So that's the decision you have to sort of make in your head about this kid. Do you think that this is his peak, or do you think
you're pretty high on him? What do you think he's got it in him to be an all-star next season?
So if he's going to be an all-star next season, what that means is James Harden has to be basically like bottoming out, because do you realistically think there's going to be 3 all-stars in Philly next year on the roster?
I don't think James Harden will make the all-star game.
Yeah. See, I don't think he's going to be an all-star next season.
Okay.
And I don't think Harden's going to be an all-star next season either. As much as I really want to see Philly, succeed and even win a championship, I don't know. Harden almost seems done, which is really disappointing. Like I want to see that guy win a chip.
Rough.
But yeah. And so
I don't think Harden's winning a chip.
Embiid is so dominant. It's kind of, I feel like it's sort of wasting his prime a little bit. And so, look, anyway, that's another story. But
yeah,
to answer your question specifically, I think at the moment 80 is his absolute peak, unless you are like all in on this dude and you think he's going to the moon. So a little bit, to be honest, buyer beware up to that. But at the same time, still, there's still, you can have some fun, putting some bids on this, watching the bids and see if you're going to get a bargain. I think
pick up a silver Prizm. Yeah, get it if you can get. You're one of the lucky ones that gets one. Yeah. Below 60 or below, you're getting good. You're getting value. Yeah, for sure.
Scottie Barnes, congratulations, Scottie, on your Rookie of the Year. I think he's absolutely, deserving of it. When I watch this kid play, I honestly feel like it's a man playing with a group of children. He just makes pros. He makes them look small and weak, and like these kids need to, get to the weight room. He literally just bullies people. So
I feel like I'm not going to find anything on Card Ladder because
there's nothing on Card Ladder, man. Just eBay. Yeah, there's absolutely nothing on Card Ladder on Scottie Barnes.
I've got Scottie Pippen. And I've got Harrison Barnes. We can sort of mesh those, I guess.
So a really good Scottie Barnes card to look at the moment is the Choice Mojo. So that last sold for 137 USD.
Yep.
I think that's a really good card because there's no Prizm out for him, and that's a really nice, short printed card that comes out of a choice box. So, it's a little bit on the higher side in terms of pricing. Look, his Origin stuff has done, pretty nicely. Even like his numbered Donruss stuff has been, really good too. In terms of, him moving into the future. So I put him into the Kawhi Leonard, Patrick Williams, conversation. So,
yeah.
I think he's the type of kid that could be, injury plagued, just like, what's happened to Patrick Williams in Chicago.
Yeah.
Or he could be like Kawhi Leonard, who's also injury plagued, but, just developed into this.
Has won like multiple championships and
Yeah,
finals
like
MVPs. Yeah.
let's be honest, that kid went supernova. Like he was never
Yeah.
drafted with that sort of expectation level. So I think he's such a fun sort of thought bubble, and someone that you can follow and you can track, and
Yeah, for sure.
if he's your boy already, I think you can just keep buying into this kid. And look, you're not going to win them all, and he might not end up being the prospect that he is, but I think Toronto is really good at drafting people, and they also draft on characters, and I think that's really, really important. And there's another person on our list that we're going to talk about that character is a big, important part of his success, and I really do think that does play a part in people succeeding in the NBA.
Yeah,
and I think Scottie Barnes has got all the physical tools, and he knows how to play basketball, just on a really high level. So there's a lot of upside there. What's your thoughts on Scottie Barnes, man?
If anyone's been getting some of that Prizm, the Prizm draft picks, yeah, Scottie Barnes, get on it.
Interesting.
Kid's got a future.
Okay.
Kid's got a future. I don't know if it's in Toronto, but the kid's got a future.
Yeah.
Some interesting impacts this season from this young crop of rookies, even the ones that sort of didn't show up on the rookie of the year voting. But yeah, Barnes is definitely one to watch.
That's super interesting that you brought up draft picks, because he's got this is the thing about draft picks. What it's supposed to do, it's supposed to come out before the pro stuff comes out, but it's coming out like smack bang and 10 other really important NBA releases. So
they should have brought this out in November.
Yeah, last year.
Before a handful of these players have played their first game, maybe.
Yeah. So
I'm just looking Prizm draft picks after the guys won Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, it's head scratching, isn't it?
Like Panini, get your bag of poo together.
I mean, yeah, I do blame Panini, of course. Like they're responsible. But I do.
They were too busy printing LaMelo balls at the start of the season.
No, I think this is all to do with COVID and lack of ability of
reset the market though.
Paper and print and all this. Anyway, that's fine. We're digressing.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, but honestly, you can't get a draft pick set after the guys won Rookie of the Year.
Okay, what I'm going to say though is it's super interesting that you brought up draft picks, because I'm just looking at a sold price here. There's a draft pick Scottie Barnes hyper sold for $7 USD. And this is what I really love about draft picks, because if you can't afford a choice, which we just said was $100+ but you want to get a Scottie Barnes, which is it's a sick looking card.
Yep.
$7 USD, delicious. Let's go.
Get on it.
Yeah.
It's a nice looking rookie card. Well, it's not a rookie card, it's a college card, but it's that you've got something unique for your collection.
Yeah, definitely.
That said, I'm sure he'll feature in next week's Revolution release.
So buy, hold, sell Scottie Barnes, man. Where do you sit with this kid?
Hold.
Interesting.
Hold, because but there's always the dip of the sophomore year, right?
Interesting.
The second year in, there's gonna be that he has a bad patch. Everyone wants to get off and go, I want to get off the train, because he might capitulate and become trash.
So how I felt about Jason Tatum 3 weeks ago, this is how you feel about Scottie Barnes now. Is it you think this is like future pricing built in?
Maybe future pricing. At this point it is, because he's obviously going to be his maximum when he's won Rookie of the Year, right?
And he's playing in the playoffs too.
And he's still in the playoffs. Yeah. So my thinking here is...
Yeah, rightio. Yeah, okay.
Like, first month of the new season, LaMelo Ball style, where we go, is it like... Was it a break? Was that just him playing above himself in his first year? Is this really what he is as a basketballer?
Yeah.
And then a month in, you're like, oh, this kid is, this kid's the real deal.
Yeah.
You've got to see that still.
Yeah.
But I do think Barnes has got it.
Yeah. He's a super exciting kid.
He is very much so.
Phoenix, New Orleans.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about the next one.
Yeah, sure. Lead it off, man.
Former Laker, and I hear this a lot because they keep winning awards, and I wish they weren't former. But look, Brandon Ingram had a lot of expectations on him when he was drafted, number 2 overall. He was sort of was it part of the AD package that he was let go? I think it was the first one, the AD package. Shipped off to New Orleans, sort of not given a second thought. Has been the best scorer in that squad.
Yeah.
And New Orleans have taken a game from Phoenix. Like, they could have very easily taken 2.
Yeah.
Brandon Ingram is a they. Who was the comparison? Comparison was Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Kid
Their
can score.
bodies look very similar, don't they?
Yep.
That sort of very sinewy, very thin, but at the same time muscular, athletic body. Yeah. Yeah.
It's but it's very interesting for me to see how Brandon Ingram, I guess, has evolved as a player.
Yeah. And he has. He's definitely gotten better.
And I mean, look, you look at his card prices since New Orleans made the playoffs to, well, what was his silver Prizm selling for? Just under 300 USD. That's back 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Right. You can now they're now selling for nearly 540. They've nearly doubled in price.
Yeah. That's the playoff uptick, man, that you were just talking about.
Yeah, that is this kid can play in big games.
So can I be honest with you? I actually think at 300, I'd be selling or holding. I'm definitely not buying in. So at 500, there's nothing more that screams to me than sell.
Yeah, I'm like, get off the train now. He's in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Like, so no offense to New Orleans, but
no, definitely
their record, their history.
We're not saying this for clickbait, man. I'm just saying, like, pragmatically, like, where is he going to go after $500?
Yep. No, look, this is the thing. Like, he's standing out at the moment.
Yeah.
This is the time to sell.
Yeah, I think so. Because
he's at maximum value. But
I think also, too, if you're playing that sort of like buy-sell game, I think you could sell now and you could probably get back in, once it drops down back again in the off-season.
Yeah, you're probably going to get off-season. Zion comes back into the lineup. Things get shaken up with the rotations. Yeah. Ingram's not happy because Zion's getting more touches. Things plot off a little bit. Pick him up again. Sure.
So my take on the Pelicans this year is that there was so much chatter around Zion and how everything was terrible in New Orleans, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what we were missing was actually Willie Green goes in there and starts building up this culture. And then the general manager, even though I was incredibly critical of that deal for Valanciunas, actually what he was doing was putting this really deep roster together. But he was also picking up draft picks along the way too in the background, which I probably neglected to mention. I wouldn't say I did that deliberately, but I'm still very critical of that trade and I'm standing by those comments.
It's fine.
But I think probably what I didn't give him, like David Griffiths, enough like credit for was like all the other sort of like side deals that he was doing. So he's built this really deep trade. I essentially think he robbed Portland of McCollum. I think that was an absolute steal. And I think in terms of, building culture and having some like solid veterans in the room and, men amongst boys. And I've sort of already said this on the podcast already tonight. Look, I really think McCollum is like the pros pro.
Yeah.
And so actually what we were missing was this team that was building this culture and players that can play all over the floor, which was led by Brandon Ingram and his scoring power and his playmaking ability now too. So I think in some ways we've kind of done a disservice about the amount of airtime we've given Zion Williamson not playing and then not focusing on, Ingram. So I'm
actually playing. Yeah. Look,
I'm actually really enjoying this episode because we're actually giving shine to people who have earned this, privilege this year. And we need to give some shine to Brandon Ingram because...
Well, it's interesting. New Orleans
deserves it.
New Orleans and Ingram is a key reason here, right?
Yeah.
But Valanciunas was like... It's like, but he fits better elsewhere. You're like, nah, this is good. This is good. Valanciunas is not going to be a waste in New Orleans.
No, I don't think it's a waste, but I think giving up a pick when your team is so young and also should be getting young assets to put around a young star. That was the issue I had.
Yeah, but I think we didn't give enough credit to the roster the pieces they had.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And they've got some key pieces to go alongside what they already had. And it seems very complimentary. And whether or not Zion stays or not, I see a brighter future for this New Orleans side. Could be even brighter if Zion stays and clicks with this group.
Yeah.
But they're
let's not go speculating on Zion anymore. I think
No. Not even the Pelicans. I think New Orleans is in a much better position than we gave them credit to be. That would be my take on it anyway.
Yeah. So the other one, I know it's not on our list, but I just want to really quickly mention this kid. So Herbert Jones got 1 vote in the Rookie of the Year polling. So I'm putting this out there publicly. I'm buying Herbert Jones very, very heavily as soon as Prizm comes out, because I think he's the type of kid that you'll be able to pick up really cheap, because like what you've said, it's New Orleans. Everyone's focusing on Ingram and Zion and blah, 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 blah. And actually, this kid is putting together a really nice career. I spoke about him much earlier on in the year, and I was kind of saying, I like the way this kid moves around and plays on the court. I want to watch him a little bit more. And I think he scores and he's now defending too. And that's the thing that has been really catching my eye. He's really starting to put like sort of a two-way game together. I think in terms of buying a prospect, on the cheap, I could be wrong about this, and his, stuff could be very expensive, but my gut feeling is there's going to be a lot of long-term. It's going to be a 3 or 4 year purchase window.
But you're going to get some value.
I think so.
Serious value. Okay, on to the Phoenix side.
Yeah, you lead this one, mate.
Place getter in the defensive player of the year race, I guess, is what do you say? Runner up? Was he officially the runner up? I think so. So Mikal Bridges, nominee for defensive player of the year.
Well, runner up, yeah.
Yeah, runner up with the vote getting. I believe he came second, incredibly close to Marcus Smart.
Yeah, and congratulations to Marcus Smart too. Like, I'm sick of watching all these big stiffs win these awards. Like,
that's it.
There's other dudes that defend.
That's it. Well, everyone was like, "Where's Draymond getting it again?" I was like, "No, he's had his time in the spotlight."
Look, I don't think Draymond didn't play enough time to get enough votes. I think it's as simple as that. Yeah.
But Mikal Bridges, I made light of the Phoenix Suns re-signing Bridges for a lot of money at the start of the season because they didn't extend Ayton.
Yeah.
And I was very critical of that, thinking that, well, now they're going to have to pay overs on Ayton, and really, what are they getting with Bridges?
Yeah.
What they're getting is a lockdown defender.
Yeah.
Like I didn't see how much potential was in this guy, but the card markets certainly have.
Yeah.
Silver Prizm, if you were, say, before Australia Day weekend, because we're down here in Australia, Australia Day weekend, you wanted to have a sneaky look at a Mikal Bridges Silver Prizm, you'd be paying in the vicinity of $60 to $80. Yeah, US.
Yeah.
Now that he's runner-up, a defensive player of the year, he's playing quite well in the playoffs. 3 months later, in last sale is 135 US.
Yeah.
It's literally doubled in price.
Yeah.
So maybe Phoenix were right with extending this guy.
Yeah.
Whether or not that's good value to be seen. I don't know what this Phoenix group look like without Chris Paul, because this Chris Paul makes people naturally better.
Yeah.
It's like a random phenomena that as soon as Chris Paul's on the team, everybody plays 20% better than they should. So he might be a good defender, but whatever culture's going on in Phoenix has him as a great defender.
Yeah.
This kind of spike, are you at the same thinking as Ingram or with the sell, or is this a hold if you've got it? Because I don't think with this kind of spike in a 3-month period, he's a buy.
So my thoughts on Bridges is that, yes, he's a very good defender, but I think in my mind, the place where he's made the most amount of improvement is his ability to take the ball and actually dribble the ball. And I know that sounds almost contrite to say that, but I think if you watch footage of him,
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Rookie year to now, like his handles have significantly, improved. And so him being able to dribble the ball means that he can actually move into space and shoot it. And he's pretty long in that sense, and he can sort of dribble into space and then get off a shot. So he's very good at doing that in the secondary offense capacity.
Yeah.
And they are starting to use him a little bit in that space as sort of a secondary, offense option. So I really like that improvement of him. And we've already spoken about Bridges because we were doing the Cam Johnson Bridges thing. And I was like, well, actually, I quite like Bridges. And I've been picking up a little bit of him cheaper. So I'm feeling pretty good about that right now, And now I think the question with Bridges is a little bit like what we're talking about with Maxey. It's like, okay, so now his current price is $135. It's just gone up 114%. Do you keep buying because it's going to keep going up, or is this the ceiling for this dude? Because he is a secondary playmaker, and I think, to be fair to him, that's probably his ceiling. Because let's say Chris Paul leaves, which I'm not saying.
I don't think he's leaving, but I just don't think he plays much longer after his current contract.
But hang on a minute, right? That's right. He's either he leaves or he retires. Like, I don't think it's that.
He's still leaving, is what you're saying.
Yeah. I don't think it's that unfair to actually kind of say, well, at some point, this Phoenix Suns team is going to be remade and Chris Paul isn't going to be there. But, Booker will be there. And what Booker showed when Chris Paul was out is actually he can be a lead ball handler, which doesn't seem natural to say that. But actually, I think he can play a little bit of point guard. And so he's still going to be the secondary. I don't think he's ever going to be the primary playmaker. So I would probably say at the moment, this guy's at his peak. I would say be very wary of buying him anything above this.
Yeah.
And maybe what you said before is a little bit reflective. Wait for the offseason to sort of roll through and, things will trickle down a little bit. I personally think at the moment this is very, very hot and it's a sell or a hold for me at the moment.
That's my thought at this point is when these players are winning awards or in the top of the voting, we're actually looking at season peaks for these players. So it's not always a good time to buy.
Look, I like this guy at $50 or $60. Like, this to me is like
so my question, because I can see this graph here on Card Ladder. Was that you that picked him up for $48 in March?
No, I paid a little bit more than that, but
53.
No, I think I paid around 60 or something like this. Yeah.
I'm just seeing these dips. I'm like, oh look, they're the pickups that Russell got.
No, who are these people that get that? It's like I always get so jealous of that. Like, usually I'm like the peak. See the one that's 127 in
that one. Yeah. You're like, I'm going to get me one of those.
That's usually me. That's what normally happens. So. And then my other comment about this too. So let's do a Dallas and Phoenix comparison, because I actually think the Dallas Mavericks have they've literally put the line in the sand and said, look, we think roster building moving into the future doesn't feature around spending a lot of money on a big. It actually, you spend a lot of money on two very good perimeter, guys that can handle and also create shots. So have Phoenix also put their, line in the sand and said, look, we're not going to be paying Ayton. We'd rather put the money into, say, Bridges. Yeah. And now we bring in someone else to support Booker when Chris Paul goes. So I'm actually wondering if Ayton is going to be on the move in this offseason. So it's
interesting.
Yeah.
It's very interesting because there will be a market for him. He's a very, very good piece.
Yeah. Golden State Warriors, Denver Nuggets. We've chosen Jordan Poole and Nikola Jokic. And this is
look, I've got the best bit of commentary.
Yeah.
I've heard.
Yeah.
All season.
Yeah.
Was, oh my God, the Splash Brothers have brought the Poole with them.
They've been doing a lot of like puns and double entendres with this, haven't they? They're like the death pool. They've been talking about all this sort of stuff. I'm just like,
it's a pool party. It's a pool party in Golden State.
Yeah.
The Splash Brothers have brought the Poole out to play.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
This doesn't speak to the middle-aged me. I'm not going to lie to you, man.
When they said,
I'm too old for this stuff.
Like pool party in Golden State, I was like, yeah. But when the Splash Brothers had brought the Poole, and Curry's coming off the bench. I mean, that speaks volumes about how well Jordan Poole's playing.
Yeah, it does definitely to that. I would also say too, again, it speaks to just what a tremendous leader and, self-assured person that Steph Curry is. Like, how many dudes can do that? Like, that concept actually ended Allen Iverson's career. He literally refused. He could not come off the bench. He was just like, I'd rather retire than play off the Memphis Grizzlies bench. Like,
yeah.
Whereas Steph Curry's happy to do it in a playoff game. That doesn't...
But the Golden State Warriors are renowned for this. Remember when Andre Iguodala moved from the starting lineup to the bench, and that got him his finals MVP. That got him a finals MVP against LeBron.
Yeah. I think the culture they built there is just second to none in terms of basketball culture. I personally think. Yeah.
So this is. I think there's more to this question I'm about to ask than there's probably more debate, and at the moment I think it's a snap decision.
Yeah.
3 months ago, you could pick up a Jordan Poole Silver Prizm rookie card for somewhere around the $230 mark.
Yeah.
Now,
I'm looking at his PSA 10 silver prices. I'm actually sitting here shaking my head right now.
A month ago,
Yeah.
you could buy the same Jordan Poole silver rookie card for just under $300 US.
Yeah. Lay it on us, Ad. Come on, man. Put us out of our misery.
Oh, come on. There's one more layout. 2 weeks ago, you could buy that same Jordan Poole rookie card, Silver Prizm, PSA 10, $375 US. So you've already almost doubled your money.
Oh my
but
God!
But if you want to buy one today, you have to pay almost $1,000 US for this card.
That is insane.
It's a sell for me.
Mate, I can't list my silver PSA 10 pools fast enough. If you're listening,
crazy.
If you are listening to this podcast, please sell.
If you have a silver PSA 10 Jordan Poole, now is the time.
And you can get $1,000 US, I think. Yeah.
Go to the pool party. Yeah. Sell your card and leave the pool party.
Put on your mankini and do a dance.
That's it. Do your best Borat impression. It doesn't look. The kid can play.
Yeah.
The kid is hungry. I think the kid is a phenomenal talent, but that's crazy.
Yeah. So
I thought the ceiling was the 375. 2 weeks ago.
Had you checked the prices before we did the show, man?
No, I just looked at it then.
Yeah, see, neither had I. So I'd actually, because I've been thinking about Poole a lot this week, and so my thought, this is the Tyrese.
A few people have, by the look of it.
Yeah, so this is like the Tyrese Maxey thing again, but in a different context. See, my Jordan Poole take is, it's pretty obvious that this guy is becoming a star.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is he going to do it with Golden State, or is he going to leave and have his own team? Because if he leaves and has his own team, what I was going to say was, I think there's a lot of room for this guy to move. But now he's moved up into the, the 4 figures mark. Well, how much more room is there to move, irregardless if he has his own team? Down. Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking right now. So that, this whole sort of dialogue that I just developed in my head is absolutely kaput. And
wow,
that is unbelievable, man.
That's a shock. Like I'm sure there's a discussion for it where someone might want to hold.
Yeah.
But even if you had these PSA 10s before a month ago.
But even if the last 2 sales are shilled, right? Because, let's be pragmatic about the card market. Like even if the last 2 are sealed, is 700. And that is still
650, 700.
That is still an insane return because you could have picked this guy up for, being pragmatic, you could have got this guy for 150 USD, easily. Like, this guy was not someone that was collected.
No, that's crazy.
What an explosion.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
176 US on the 5th of March.
Look, let's not even bother talking about Nikola Jokic. Let's just say Nikola Jokic and move on. That is blown my mind, man, honestly.
The Joker, look, it's probably not a lot to talk about with the Joker. I think it's more basketball talk if we're talking about.
So my question to you is: do you think that he's the best player in basketball right now? Who is playing better basketball than Jokic at the moment?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because my thing about Joker is, I think the team that he's led, I don't know any other player in the league that could have done the same thing that he's done.
Agreed. Look,
like the stuff that he does is just ridiculous.
I don't know why Denver are paying anyone else. They could have got randoms from the crowd to jump on the court.
Yeah, look, I think they've had a lot of injuries this year, and I think
that's taking it a bit far. But do you know what I mean? Like every time they've got Jamal Murray on the bench side, like they've had some contributors, but it's Jokic. He's willing this team to the line, and it's unfortunate that they're likely to get bounced out by a very, very, very strong Golden State team. But the things this man has done this year, he deserves an MVP for it.
All right, fine. I've changed my mind. So actually, there is something interesting to talk about. He's actually down 30%.
Yep. So I was going to say his Silver Prizm is actually down 13%.
Is it 13%? What was his last sold on the silver, mate?
Last sold on the silver, 2,794.
Oh God. Okay, so
down $450.
His base is $489.
Mm-hmm.
So would you buy that at 489?
What's the
you're
population
not?
count on it?
Yeah, so they've just revised the card letter site. There's no more pop counts on
there. You got to go pro. Is this where we reach out? We say, hey, card ladder, we use you a lot on the show. You should.
Will you please sponsor us? Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I don't think the boys from Card Ladder listen to our show, mate. I've got to be honest with you. I think we're going to need to do a bit of groundwork to make this happen.
We might have to send them an email. But I've worries that they won't send one back. No one's even. They will offer to give them their own episode. How's that?
How dare they? So actually, what's interesting about this, just because he's not the flavor of the month doesn't mean he's not a dominating player, and doesn't mean that he's not going to be good. Say,
the team's going to deserve the MVP, but anyway.
Yeah. I actually think this is a really interesting conversation now. Like, would you actually buy this at 489 because he has just dipped down 30%? I like that.
489.
Because I think
10, I guess, yeah.
See, where I'm sort of sitting with my collection at the moment, like
down from 700, by the way.
Yeah, like how much I like to prospect, but at some point you kind of go, look, I've got a million prospecting cards that probably aren't going to come out any good. I actually need to buy some blue chip stuff. So that's what I'm sort of sitting at the moment. And he's a blue chipper who's probably going to win 2 MVP in a row. He's currently down 30%. Do I start? Does
he bump once they announce he's the MVP?
Well, this has happened in previous times where that $700 price was actually the MVP price, and now you know what I mean. People are like getting ready to sell.
It peaked at 830 in the last 3 months.
Yeah, and that was probably all around the the potential that he was going to win MVP.
You get it under that 500 mark. He hits MVP. You can resell. You can flip it around the 700.
I think the price will be static from here. I think that earlier peak, that was it. Do you know what I mean?
You think if he gets announced as MVP, it stays?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to go up or down. I probably think it's going to stay around this mark. I think that.
Yeah, I think the Joker's peaked, but everyone knows how good he is.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
it's no secret, especially after the first MVP.
All right, now we're really moving on. I said we won't talk about Jokic, but we just did.
Oops.
Miami and Atlanta. So we chose Trae Young and Jimmy Butler here. And again, I really like this episode because we're talking about people that we really should have given. I don't think we've even mentioned Jimmy Butler's name this whole year.
We probably could have got away with not mentioning it. But
well, I mean, is that fair though? They're the number one team in the league.
Yeah, I know. It's
so who's the best player? Who's the best player on the Heat?
Jimmy Butler. Has to be.
So why haven't we spoken about the best player on the best team in the East?
Because the Heat are boring.
Are they?
Oh, sorry, no. No. Look, I don't know. Like there was what, a game and a half that separated the Heat from the 6th seed.
They're still the best team.
I know. Yeah. They finished on a high.
All right. So would you buy 2 Jimmy Butler PSA 10 base rookie cards or 1 Jokic? Because that's about what the ratio is at the moment.
What?
So Jimmy Butler PSA 10 is current last price was $210. He's down 20%. Would you buy 2 of those, or would you buy 1 Joker rookie PSA 10?
I would buy a Joker.
Yeah, me too. When you say it like that, like.
Well, this goes back to when I hate the fact that there's no pop counts. But when we were analyzing, who was it? When Brian went through it with us, and he said that doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
right.
He really valued pop counts, didn't he?
But it's like you do the math on a player, and then you instantly, if your brain is saying, looking at the price, you could buy 2 Jimmy Butlers or 1 Jokic, and spend the same amount of money.
Yeah,
without knowing pop counts though. But in my mind, I'm like, I buy a Joker.
I don't think the pop count will be massive on either of those 2 cards.
Yeah, no, because they're old. They're 2015.
Yeah.
They're not from high volume eras. It's not the Zion Luka effect where the number keeps going up.
Trae Young PSA 10 Silver Prizm last sold for $685. He's down 28.5%. All right, so let's do a direct comp. Would you buy Trae Young at $685 or Jordan Poole at $1K?
I would buy Trae Young.
Yeah, I'm buying Trae Young all day, man. So
peaked at 1,000, but
why is Trae Young? Okay, this is a really good conversation. Why has Trae Young slid down in your mind?
Because Atlanta's not performing.
Yeah.
Because Atlanta's not performing, he's not on the radar.
Yeah, but is there more to it than that? Than just that to you?
Well,
in my mind, there's more to it than this.
His performance has been He's been blamed for the reason that one of the reasons that Atlanta hasn't performed well.
Yeah.
So it's on his shoulders.
Yeah.
Very young shoulders to have that kind of responsibility.
Yeah. Look, I think that they overperformed last year, and I think
that's a reasonable.
Yeah, and I think they went into the off season with this really strange mindset of coming into the year expecting them just to keep going, and teams would almost roll over for them, which that's not how professional sports works. Like, teams are coming out literally every day to try and take your head off, and then they had a really, really slow start. And there was actually a point in my mind, I was thinking to myself in this season, are they not even going to make the playoffs this year? And they really did turn their season around.
But they're about to be eliminated.
I think the attitude that they came into the year was, to be honest, like abysmal. And I think if they're going to be more successful next year, because
their roster going to come with maturity. It's going to come with maturity. The roster
is still young enough that they could, still make something of this roster. But I think where they currently lie now, they literally live and die with this guy. So if he is having a good shooting night and, he's shooting those bombs from half court and he's making them, and he's getting to the cup and he's dishing, and, people making their shots, they'll win games. It's literally as simple as that. But when he's off,
then it's scary.
They really struggle to generate offense. I think
when Trey stinks, they stink.
Yeah, but I mean, this is an interesting conversation again too. I don't think that we should turn our nose up at Trae Young at 685.
No, I think it goes on the radar at that price.
Yeah, and I think, and again, sometimes I throw out these prices and it's ridiculous, and because again, I'm not spending this type of money. But then you sort of say to yourself, well, what cards can I afford of this guy? What can I get that he is sliding down? Because generally what will happen, this 30% decline will be across the board.
All right, so, I've got a question for you.
Yeah, so why do we can't afford to buy that, so what are we looking at buying? What do you think is a good buy, man?
Would you buy, well, you can even go as far back to go, would you buy 4 Trae Youngs at say 125 each?
Yeah.
Or would you buy a Nikola Jokic base?
Yeah. Look, I think in terms of return on investment, I think you would probably do better on the 4 Trays.
Yep.
At that price, because I probably think there would be a little bit to move. The only downside of that, I would probably buy the Joker, just because I was saying to you, I've got enough prospect cards in my collection. I need to buy some more blue chip. The only thing is what you talked about before was a pop count, because we know that era of cards is like, is pimped out. So
all right, well that raises the secondary question, right? Yeah. So the Jokic Butler, and this is why I thought I'd break it down with these players.
Yeah.
Would you buy 2 Trays or 1 Jimmy? Because Trae comes from the flooded market.
No, I'd buy 2 Trays. I think this guy has got a lot more star potential. All right. So this is, okay, I'm looking at some cards now and I found some ripper ones. All right. Optic PSA 10 base for $73. That's beautiful. Select PSA 10 for $65 and a raw Prizm silver for $157. That's
Trae.
Yep. That's 3 really nice cards that are affordable. The dude's down 30%. He's still got a bit of future pop there, and he's got that sort of pop culture connection too. The way that dude plays hoops is very relatable for kids, and the shooting and the ball handling. I think he's going to stay in the collector's eyes.
When you said pop culture, I'm like, what pop count culture? No. As in actual pop culture. Jeez, I've got pop count on the brain today.
Alrighty, guys. I think what we're going to do is we're going to say thank you very much for listening, and we're going to finish this episode here, and then we're going to do a part 2 of this episode. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you for the second part, maybe on Wednesday or Thursday.
Brilliant. Yep. See you guys then.
Thanks, Ad. Bye-bye.